Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to ask everyone to please find their seat and we'll get started. We don't want our eggs to get cold. Right? Right, Jeff? Well, good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development's annual breakfast. I want to thank you all for your support. I'm Wendy Birdsall, and it's an honor to have you here today. This is the 13th year we've gathered for an annual look at our economy. And this year, like other preceding events, we want to bring you cutting-edge ideas on economic development to this community and challenge ourselves to take Lincoln to that next level. But you know, really, the Lincoln statistics are already very impressive. Fortune just ranked us as the best place to find a job, and our unemployment rate is among the lowest, if not the lowest, in the nation. We have over 188,000 people employed at this time, which, by the way, is an all-time high for Lincoln, with more than 3,000 people employed this year than last year at this time. And we are off to an incredible start in 2015 with over 1,200 publicly reported primary jobs in the first 6 months of this year. And that's really testament to the support and work of each and every one of you in this audience. Thank you. Let's take a moment and recognize the elected officials who are with us today and thank them for their service to our community. Will you please stand and be recognized? I know there's a bunch of you here. Don't be shy. I would also like to thank the Board of Directors for both the Lincoln Chamber Economic Development Corporation and the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development for all your contributions to the success of the partnership. Would you all please stand and be recognized? I think there were some shy ones in the crowd. I also want to thank all of our investors who continue to support economic development in this community. We could not do the things that we do without your support. And a point of personal privilege this morning, I don't do this often, but I would like to recognize Steve Pella. I know you're going to kill me. Steve Pella's last day on the job is today. He's going to be retiring tomorrow. I want to personally thank Steve for all the work that you've done for Lincoln. We're all jealous. We are very honored to have the governor joining us today for the rollout of our economic development strategy. And I know you all know that Governor Ricketts is a business executive and he is committed to bringing a business approach to improving state government's effectiveness and efficiencies. His overarching goal is to grow our state's economy and opportunities for Nebraskans. And he's just returned from a trade mission where he promoted our great state and our many world-class businesses in Europe. Please help me welcome Governor Pete Ricketts to the podium.
Well, thank you very much, Wendy. I appreciate it. And thank you all for the opportunity to be here today. We have a great state. We have the best place in the world to live. And we have such a great state because we have great people. People like you. The type of growth that we want to have here in Nebraska does not happen by accident. It happens because we as Nebraskans pull together to collaborate, to work hard, to plan for how we're going to achieve that growth. And the Lincoln Chamber and the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Growth are great examples of that. In fact, second to none of that collaboration and that cooperation. And it's been very exciting to see all the great work that you've been able to accomplish over these many years. You know, Wendy mentioned some of the great accomplishments about the low unemployment rate and the best place to find a job. Lincoln was also ranked number 4th best place for families, number 8th best downtown. And again, these accomplishments don't happen by accident. So congratulations on all the wonderful success of pulling all this together, because it's only through efforts like this that we will all be successful and be able to create those plans to be able to grow Nebraska. At state government, we're working on our part of it. As Wendy mentioned, I just got back from a trade mission. And again, you all will appreciate that it's important to say thank you to your customers that are already doing business with you. And that's one of the things we did. We went with a variety of firms, Sinalco, which is the largest beef importer, CNH Industries, which has a plant that employs 800 people in Grand Island, and Novozymes, that has made nearly $250 million investment in Blair, Nebraska. So we said thank you to all those great folks. We also reached out and had roundtables in Italy, Belgium, and Denmark to talk to companies who were interested in either buying our products here or investing in Nebraska. And finally, we met with EU officials to be able to talk about how we can open up more opportunities for our Nebraska producers and companies to establish trade relationships. In the legislative session, we were able to cut the growth of government by nearly in half, which is key because that is the path to being able to reduce our taxes, to being more competitive when it comes to taxes. There's no magic solution. What we have to do is slow the growth of government, allow our economy to continue to grow, and that's how we can have sustainable tax relief. We're also working on making government more user-friendly. We're putting things in place that you all probably take for granted, but we didn't have in state government, such as job descriptions, annual reviews, and metrics, performance metrics for each of our agencies to be able to determine whether or not we're having success. So for instance, with regard to Health and Human Services, we've started publishing our Access Nebraska hold times, you know, how long people are waiting on hold before they talk to one of our representatives, and also how quickly or how often we're meeting the federal government standards for processing SNAP applications. So those are just a couple of examples how we're trying to be more business friendly at the state of Nebraska to be able to serve the people of Nebraska better. And all of these things together, what you all are doing here for the city of Lincoln, what we're doing for the state of Nebraska, really roll together for that great plan for how we grow Nebraska, how we create more and better paying jobs, how we make sure we can keep our kids and grandkids here. You know, some of the fruits of your effort have paid off in the $25 million investment from Huddle. And they're going to pull in an additional 300 high-tech jobs. You want to talk about keeping our kids here? That's a great example of how we're keeping it here. And that investment with Nelnet will really help us grow the city of Lincoln. So congratulations on all your great success. Don't rest on your laurels. Keep it up. And I'm excited to hear what you've got planned here in the talk today and your future plans. Lincoln is a dynamic city, and it's a dynamic city because of all your great efforts. So thank you for all that you're doing. I hope that I'm looking forward to the remarks here today. I hope you all will have a wonderful 4th of July holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. It's also my honor and pleasure to introduce to you today Mayor Chris Beitler, Lincoln's Mayor Chris Beitler. Well, what other city would you be from? Then here he is right now.
Hurry up.
I've got to say a couple things. I'm all flustered now. Let me have your speech. Mayor Beitler and his administration has really shaped Lincoln over the past several years to a community that places a priority on growing and becoming a world-class city, a city that understands and follows through on what is needed to do in order to be competitive. I can personally say that it has been a pleasure to work with him. We have a great partnership focused on economic development, and his commitment to growing jobs in Lincoln has been unwavering. He's already up here, but go ahead and welcome him.
I was telling her to hurry up, because we all want to get to Mr. Angelou's report here. And, you know, I don't know if you feel like I do, but each time we accomplish a project here in Lincoln of one type or another, we usually have some kind of celebration of success. And I love those occasions. But you know the one thing I like more than that? It's when the school year starts again. And there's a whole new set of expectations, a whole new set of projects, a whole new set of ideas. It's incredibly exciting, and it's coming for the city at the perfect point in time. The administration has 4 years ahead of it. I've been gathering all my department heads and going through with them what their objectives are for the next 4 years, putting them in order 1 year at a time, going through things that we've heard from constituents around the city, what they want to see, putting them on that runway. And now, at this very best time, Mr. Angelou's report is coming to us, and we'll be conferring with the Chamber of Commerce and prioritizing the City Council and myself prioritizing the projects and getting them on the runway and moving Lincoln ahead another 4 years. We've got this tremendous momentum going, and we just can't lose it. I hope you're as excited as I am about what's coming. And with that, I'll quit, and we'll move forward to getting closer to Mr. Angelou's report. Thank you.
And with that, we'll serve breakfast. How about that? We'll be back to you in just a few minutes. Thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I know most of you have just gotten served, so please continue eating as we begin our program this morning. I also want to welcome you to the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development's annual breakfast. I'm Tom Henning, President and CEO of Assurity Life Insurance Company and current co-chair of the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. The Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development is truly a partnership that brings together the combined efforts and resources of the Lincoln business community and the city of Lincoln for one common goal: creating new economic opportunity for Lincoln area residents. The support by our investors, our elected officials, and the community is an important part of our success, and I would like to thank all of you for your continued support. Well, about 12 years ago, the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development contracted with Angelou Economics of Austin, Texas, to complete an economic development study for the city of Lincoln. It was a good study. It provided a number of strategic objectives and a plan of implementation. On the second anniversary of that study, Angelos was at this very breakfast where he gave us an update on our progress. Some of you were probably there. During his presentation, he was very critical of our progress and gave the community an F grade on business leadership. That takes a lot of guts, doesn't it? Come here, paid him to speak, and gives us an F. Well, that taking us to the woodshed, that chastening, was the spark to form Vision 2015, which then worked with so many other projects already going on in our community to get them launched. Pinnacle Bank Arena, Innovation Campus, P Street redevelopment, Antelope Valley redevelopment, just to name a few. Well, leadership of LPED felt that the completion of all these great projects, it was time again to do a study and develop new objectives, projects to take Lincoln to the next level. We convened a selection committee and conducted a thorough RFP process, and again came to the conclusion that Angelou Economics was the organization that could help provide a roadmap for taking Lincoln to the next level. A phrase Angelos used during the selection process that really resonated with me was, "We will provide a plan to make Lincoln a globally competitive city." We will provide a plan to make Lincoln a globally competitive city. Well, Angelos and his firm have been hard at work for the last 6 months, and today we have the pleasure of having Angelos here to give us a synopsis of his most recent report. Before I ask him to the podium, let me tell you a little bit about Angelos. Angelos is the founder and CEO of Angelou Economics, an economic development, site selection, economic analysis, and research consultancy based in Austin, Texas, with an office in Dubai. He is also chairman of the board, founder, and president of the International Accelerator in Austin, Texas, which is focused on launching foreign-born startups in the USA. In its 20-year history, Angelou Economics has become a leading economic development consultancy in the U.S. The firm has developed economic development strategies for more than 650 regions in the U.S. and abroad. In its site selection practice, Angelo Economics has cited over $18 billion worth of capital investment projects. Now, prior to forming Angelo Economics, Angelus was the Vice President of Economic Development at the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, which he served for 11 years. Angelus is widely regarded as the father and chief architect in the establishment of Austin as another Silicon Valley. While I, along with a number of others, have received a preview of Angelo's report, I think you're going to be impressed. Please help me welcome Angelus to this podium. Angelus, nice to have you here this morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is an economic development meeting. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Honorable Governor, Honorable Mayor, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am really excited to be back in Lincoln. 12 years ago, as Tom mentioned, we were hired to complete one of your first economic development strategies. You have accomplished a lot. This community has transformed beyond my imagination. I remember the day that I went back after we've interviewed for this project and told my staff, you would not believe what Lincoln has done, because this to me was not the old Lincoln that I knew, but really a new city altogether. Tom, I want to thank you for your leadership of the advisory committee. I want to thank all the members of the advisory committee for guiding us through this process. And I want to thank all of you today for being here. Congratulations, Wendy and Pat, for a first-class event, only appropriate for a first-class economic development organization. You know, as Tom mentioned, we've done this type of work in 650 regions around the US and the globe. And we have never been welcomed with so many people in one room just as this one today. So congratulations. It does show the commitment of your leaders and ordinary citizens to economic development. It does show that public-private partnership is alive and well in Lincoln. So congratulations, thank you. So I'm amazed with the progress that the city has made. In 2012, I made a trip to, in 2002, I made a trip to Omaha, because there was a lot of Omaha envy in Lincoln at the time. The challenge is that no one in Omaha gave a damn about Lincoln. And I came back and told you that. You took that message, you transformed the city, and I bet today Omaha has a few things to learn from Lincoln. So give all yourselves a round of applause, please. Thank you. On behalf of Angelo Economics, I'm honored and I feel privileged to have been asked to develop the new economic development strategy for Lincoln. Tom and the advisory committee put out a challenge for us. Tell us what is the next big thing or things for Lincoln, what we need to be doing. We're not just wanting to do an ordinary economic development strategy. So I thought about that. I took that challenge. I transferred that challenge to my colleagues at Angelo Economics. Yanis Gatchounis is the project manager in this room, so he needs also a round of applause. Thank you. And we've come here today to share with you some of the highlights of this plan. Now, I realize in the next 20 minutes I will probably not do justice to the entire report because many of our recommendations are detailed, but I do want to be sure that I share with you. Go on selectlincoln.org/what's next to read the entire report and a copy of the presentation. In your tables, you have a small card that basically gives you details of how to accomplish that. So we took upon that challenge that Tom and the committee gave us at heart, and we are here today to highlight some of the recommendations on how to make Lincoln a globally competitive city. So we have looked around the world for the characteristics, if you will, of globally competitive communities. So whether you're looking in Shanghai, whether you're looking in Tokyo, in New York, or Seattle, or the Silicon Valley, or Austin, Texas, many of those cities have common characteristics and elements, if you will, features that they all have in common. First, each one of those places has a vision for their future. They have a plan, just as the one we are delivering to you today. They have a clear vision of what they want to be in the years ahead. There is a spirit of public-private collaboration that is unparalleled, more so than any other place around the country, and that spirit is actually very alive and well in your city. They've engaged in building quality, a quality of place, a quality of life that is able to attract a world-class workforce. That's something that we need to work on in Lincoln, because all that I have heard through the public testimony is that there are widespread shortages of labor, both in unskilled as well as skilled levels of talent. So we need to do better. All these cities have modern infrastructure, whether we're talking about multimodal transportation systems, very modern business parks, technology parks, modern soft infrastructure like telecommunications. Some of them have also been engaged in really having Wi-Fi networks throughout their cities, and many of them have actually incorporated a broadband strategy, fiber to the home and business, which is kind of a new trend. They all have in common entrepreneurial traits. They have built entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial ecosystems that are unparalleled. Often we forget there are three ways of generating economic development. You attract new companies, you build on the existing strengths of your companies to help them grow, and you create your own startups, your own economic development. I have to say that entrepreneurship has been neglected in this country for many, many years as part of the economic development landscape. During the recession, however, it has come back, and many, many communities, such as Lincoln, have begun to embrace and actually have developed a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem. Most of the globally competitive cities also have an efficient, business-friendly government. Red tape it's the opposite of economic development. We have found the city to have made significant transformations in terms of becoming a more business-friendly. There's more work to be done, we all realize. But I have talked to your politicians. I've heard great things about the governor and the business-like manner in which the state government is run. Business-friendly environment is probably one of the best things for economic development, and you all know that. So what are Lincoln's competitive advantages? You have built a very diversified economy. I'm amazed that with the unemployment rate of 2.8% or lower, from life sciences to technology to insurance to banking, everything that you need to have a wholesome product for economic diversification is already here. I also believe that the Nebraska Innovation Campus is now giving you an opportunity to grow further your high-tech economy. I predict that Antelope Valley in the future will become your research and development and high-tech corridor. I view that as a great opportunity to not only grow your economy, but also take advantage of the fact that you spend a couple $100 million in putting Antelope Valley in place, the highway in place. You have a growing number of entrepreneurs, and I'm amazed with the types of entrepreneurial companies as well as infrastructure that has been developed. And we have some suggestions to talk about that a little bit later. Most importantly, a strong public partnership exists in Lincoln today in Vision 2015, which I would like for you to consider renaming to Vision 2025. And not the least, a strong educational infrastructure, UNL, the community college, your career academy, I think, is a step in the right direction, and huge investments in Haymarket and your downtown. So globally competitive cities have a quality of place. Their downtown is the living room of your home. So that's the best place, the best well-invested room in your home, and that's how downtown should be. And I think you've made significant examples of that. Let's talk about the targeted industries. The new economic development strategy calls for new targeted industry niches along 4 core sectors: finance and insurance, life sciences, advanced manufacturing, information technology, and business services. Now, we cannot go in every detail of every one of those industries. That's why I would urge each one of you to read the report. But you will see the rationalization that we have put together, why those industries make sense for Lincoln, and moreover, what the future of these industries look like, and how Lincoln can become a big player in attracting the new economic development. As I've always said in Austin, Texas, where I led the economic development efforts, often we think that we are done with the latest economic development success or project that we have announced, but the best of economic development is yet to come. So economic development always has to look out in the future. What we have attracted so far may be good, it may be high-tech, but in a few years it will not be as high-tech as it is today. We always have to keep the door open for new ideas, for new technology, and new companies to enter this market. So, how did we go about developing this strategy? We spoke with at least 30 key stakeholders one-on-one. We've engaged 3,000 people in your community through a survey that we have asked you to take, both for residents and one for businesses. Never before in the history of Angelo Economics, which spans 21 years today, we have seen such a high level of participation in any community, regardless of your population size. The most actually we have achieved was 1,500 respondents before. So congratulations to you. It suggests that this is a community where economic development is appreciated, is supported, and economic development is a grassroots organization, and that's exactly what it needs to be. When I see as many people in this room, I think you have developed economic development into a sport, because, and that's the best kind of economic development, when you have so many fans and supporters. For the politicians to know that there is that grassroots level of support for their efforts, and for the business leadership to get encouraged by the support that they receive in the community for many of the initiatives that they have undertaken. So with the help of all of you in this room and many other participants that have taken the survey that are not here, we have chosen a vision for this project. And the vision is to unify the goals of Lincoln, LPAD, and the key stakeholders of the community to chart the next chapter of economic development for Lincoln. This strategy is encapsulated in 3 overarching areas, goals, if you will. The first one is to develop a world-class workforce, talent, and infrastructure. The second one is to nurture a globally competitive community when it relates to building an entrepreneurial ecosystem. The third overarching goal is to strengthen the collaboration, the public-private partnerships among your key economic assets. Much has already been accomplished, much still remains to be done. So let's take one by one and give you the highlights of some of our recommendations. Develop a world-class talent and infrastructure. Strategy number 1, expand talent attraction efforts globally, not just in the region, not in the Midwest, not even nationally. The workforce of the future is going to be global. Whether you're a small company or a large company, you will be employing global talent. With fiber to the home, you are capable through telecommuting to have employees anywhere in the world, the top experts. And that's where globally competitive communities have gone. We need to retain the talent that you have here. It's unfortunate that a lot of your young people have told us that after graduation, they have to leave Lincoln because they don't yet see that this community appeals to their quality of life needs. Although such tremendous improvement has been made in the last 12 years, that perception still exists. But they were also quick to point out that as soon as they're ready to have a family, they're all coming back to Lincoln. How can we expedite that trend? How can we first not make them leave, and how we can make them productive players in this economy? We need to totally rethink workforce development. Workforce training in the future and education is going to be all about skills development. It will not matter whether you got your degree, although a degree from UNL is a pretty good one, I would say. So online education is an area where we have actually looked at for providing the best type of available training for your future workforce. In training online today, it takes a fraction of the cost, a fraction of the time, and one individual told me some time ago that, you know, Amazon could become the largest university in the world if they wanted to. They can put curriculum from the best professors, the best universities around the world, and offer that product. So it doesn't matter anymore the location of your university, it's the quality of your education. So think how transformative that might be for workforce education. So some of the specific action items, and by no means those are the only ones in the report. We urge Lincoln to adopt a global approach to talent recruitment, and there are some strategies in doing that. We hope that Lincoln will become one of the few communities in the U.S. today that one day can count on fiber broadband infrastructure for every home and every business. Consider some online education platforms which are now networks of workers, not just a place where you can watch a video class. It's a global classroom with complete desktop capabilities, sharing, advisors, mentors. This is where the future workforce training platforms are taking our skills development throughout the U.S. and throughout the world. We're also encouraging Lincoln to consider conducting a master plan, not a traditional master plan, but rather a master plan of connectivity, of how we can connect Antelope Valley better to the university, to the Haymarket. How can we connect Haymarket to the downtown? Your core assets visually need to be better connected. Globally competitive cities, in many parts of their economic assets, they're walkable cities. How can we make Lincoln enjoy a quality of life, the young people, with public spaces in downtown, Wi-Fi network throughout the downtown, and the ability to walk from one economic center to another. Lastly, we want Lincoln to be a welcoming community. And you all probably feel that you are a very welcoming city. That's what each one of you have told us. But we have also talked to some of the C-level managers who have lived here for a few years, and they've told us that this is not the easiest community in which they had to integrate into. So in your hearts, you mean to be welcome. What actually happens may not be ideal. So we are suggesting a community welcoming strategy, like we've had one in Austin, Texas years ago, and like many other communities. Lastly, my evaluation of this community is that its relationship with the university is a top-down approach, and we are suggesting a multi-dimensional relationship of the community with the university, with every dean, with the researchers, the leaders of the centers of excellence. A community works ideally best in its economic development efforts when it has a multifaceted relationship with just such a strong asset that you have in Lincoln. So moving on to the next overarching goal is how to build a globally competitive entrepreneurial ecosystem. There is a lot of technology here at the university. We need to accelerate its commercialization. One example that we are giving you is to look at how Johns Hopkins University has recently decided that everything that they had done in the past did not work appropriately. So they actually retained the services of DreamIt Ventures, which is an internationally known accelerator, incubator, if you will. So they contracted it to the private sector, and all of a sudden they have hundreds of entrepreneurs that they've engaged, they have funded. So it comes also with hiring DreamIt Ventures, comes with a network of investors and angels throughout the world who have put money into those companies. Already, I think they have seen tremendous activity, and one that I think is going to pan out great results for Johns Hopkins. Up until then, Johns Hopkins was the recipient of $2.6 billion of research and development grants, more so than any other university in the country, and had nothing to show for when it came to commercialization. A couple of interesting ideas to think that will also take you to the next level of economic development. Every globally competitive city owns an event. We want Lincoln to own an event. And let's start with putting together on an annual basis from this day on an entrepreneurial business plan competition in the sports tech area. You have a significant cluster of companies here. This is not Lincoln, this is not Nebraska, this is not the Midwest. National and international competition. Bring in 200 or 300 entrepreneurs, put them in a pitching event, declare the winners, own an event that you so deserve. Not many cities, by the way, have ever focused on their sports tech entrepreneurial sector. That will bring greater focus to that. We can do a similar event for big data analytics, predictive analytics, if you will. You have a plethora of financial insurance companies, Nelmet, Gallup, Emeritus, all can pitch in to hold yet another global entrepreneurial competition in Lincoln, big data predictive analytics. This is probably the hottest field today in startup activity along with cybersecurity. So on the one hand, Huddle, Locker, Bison, UNL, your Young Professionals Organization, Cabela's, can take on in organizing a sports tech entrepreneurial competition. On the other hand, the Nelmets of the world, the Emeritus, the Gallups, with the support of the university, put together a globally entrepreneurial competition on big data predictive analytics. We feel so strongly about the latter that we are suggesting that you put more resources into the university, because we feel that will give you an edge in the future of your economic development program. We've also discovered in your community a lot of assets that are entrepreneurially related. InMotion, I think, is a great accelerator. New Tech Ventures, Nebraska Global Ventures, the Southeast Community College Incubator, great assets. They were all very proud to tell us what they are working on, but there's very little collaboration among themselves. In fact, they're competing with one another. And globally competitive communities is all about knowledge sharing and working together for the greater good. The last overarching goal is to strengthen collaboration among key economic assets. We have a big idea here. I'm thrilled to have toured not only once but 3 times the Nebraska Innovation Campus. We believe that it's about time to establish a food science and safety buyer's market, a permanent exhibit of US and international companies, anything that relates to the food processing sector, the technologies. People that come to visit here look at the next generation technologies in this sector and purchase them. It doesn't have to start big, it can be small and grow it, but the best place for it is the Nebraska Innovation Campus. We're also suggesting in a broad way to continue your investments and momentum in building the public-private partnerships. You know how to do that very well. But there is additional need for public-private partnerships in terms of developing the fiber infrastructure in your community. When looking at enticing more collaboration among large and startup companies. When we look at the Career Academy, I think your efforts must be redoubled in terms of massive internship programs to be sure that the graduates from the Career Academy don't have the inclination, like many others in your high school system, to leave Lincoln for greener pastures. We need to be sure that they stay here. And a public-private partnership has to bring about a greater multifaceted relationship with the university, as I already have spoken about. The last slide that I want to share with you is how Lincoln compares vis-a-vis other small organizations. I wouldn't consider necessarily these globally competitive cities, but they are outspending you on economic development. So let me say that the time has come for Lincoln to rethink their support in economic development. It's time to invest more, because investment in economic development is not a charity. It's not a good thing, feel good. It's about investing in your future. You have achieved so much in the last 10 to 12 years. Don't you ever think that reaching the status of a globally competitive city is beyond your reach, that we're all dreaming? Put out all the negative thoughts, those that you put out 12 years ago when you told us Antelope Valley could not happen, it's too expensive. When you told us the arena could not be built because it was too big of a project. When the Haymarket had only Laszlo's in the Haymarket. And I remember one of your city council members told us he had a vision of how this area could be transformed, and I placed myself in his shoes to understand what that vision was. Well, with only Laszlo's being present, it was hard for me to visualize what else could be there. But look what you have built. So economic development, my friends, is a dream. If you can dream something, you can achieve it. It has nothing to do with bricks and mortar. It is all about setting your goals, setting the bar high. We believe that we have taken the challenge that Tom and the advisory committee has given us to give you a vision of what a globally competitive city can be. And I believe it is within your reach. One of my favorite quotes in economic development comes from Michelangelo. He said, "It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but rather the one that is adaptable to change." Change is part of what the economic development landscape is all about. So the question for me to ask today, to paraphrase some famous words, don't ask what economic development can do for you, but rather ask what economic development, what each one of you can do for economic development, to be investing continuously for your future. The notion of a globally competitive city is within your reach. I strongly believe it. And just as you challenge us to come up with a strategy, I challenge you for the next 10 years to accomplish it. Thank you so much.
Angelus, well done. Thanks again for being here and for delivering such a great study. Well, as you can see, Angelus has given us many good ideas to think about, to take Lincoln to the next level. But this morning, he was only able to give us a small sampling of what was in his report. So I would urge you all, these little cards that are at your tables, to take one of those with you and go to selectlincoln.org, what's next, and to read the whole report. So the logical question is, what's the next steps? What are we going to do next about this? Well, LCDC, Lincoln Chamber Economic Development Corporation, is going to form 3 task forces to specifically develop action items and next steps from Angelus' report. One is going to be on workforce development, one is going to be on fostering a global entrepreneurial environment, and the other is going to be infrastructure, both cyber infrastructure and traditional infrastructure. Now notice I'm calling these task forces, not committees. This means they'll be of limited duration. It's our intent that by year end, these task forces will report out their findings and their recommendations. So it'll be another exciting time in Lincoln. And I just want to highlight one other thing that Angelus commented on. And you look at all the good things that happen in Lincoln over the last 10 years, and in almost every case, it's been a partnership between the private sector, the City of Lincoln, and the university. And I want to thank our mayor for his great support of our economic development program over his 2 terms. Thank you. So with that, we appreciate you all coming today, and we stand adjourned. Thanks.